Good morning, distinguished authorities, special guests, national and international speakers, teachers, students, and participants. Welcome to the TESOL Ecuador Congress 2025. This event brings together teachers, researchers, and language professionals dedicated to educational innovation and the advancement of English language learning. We hope this day inspires academic exchange and collaboration among educational communities. Today, we open the doors to knowledge, innovation, and collaboration, the very essence of TESOL Ecuador 2025. It is an honor to share this important academic space that gathers professionals committed to the advancement of English language education in Ecuador and beyond. When people connect through language, barriers disappear. Nelson Mandela adapted. To begin this meaningful event, let's enjoy a video presentation that reflects the mission or achievements of the Ecuador TESOL Network, a community dedicated to empowering English education nationwide.
Hello, my name is Gabriela Rodriguez, and I'm from Peru.
Hello everyone, my name is Princess Kimberly Garcia. I am speaking to you from the beautiful island of Puerto Rico.
Hello everyone, my name is Gabriel Obando. I'm currently the department head of the Linguistics and Languages Department at Universidad de Nariño at Pasto, Colombia.
This is Magdalena Uliauri Moreno, President of Red Ecuador TESOL, RED. I'm pleased to invite you all, national and international English teachers and students of English majors, to attend the third TESOL Convention and Language Expo. There will be 39 presentations and 42 speakers. There, you can attend to 34 presentations of Ecuadorian speakers and 15 presentations of foreign speakers. Academic people from 13 cities of Ecuador and countries such as Colombia, El Salvador, Mexico, Paraguay, Puerto Rico, United States of America, and Vietnam will share their proposals with all of you. Remember, we will be looking forward to see you.
AI is here.
And it's not waiting for us to catch up.
Hi, I'm Randall, joined by Russ Wilson from the University of Utah, and we're inviting you to the third TESOL Ecuador Congress.
Hello, I am Ana Clara Sanchez from Universidad de Nariño at Pasto, Colombia. I would like to cordially invite all the teachers in Ecuador to attend the third TESOL Congress and Language Expo, which will take place on November 6 and 7 in Tulcán, Ecuador. We hope to see you all at UPEC. See you there!
Every great idea begins with an institution that believes in progress. Henry Ford. Next, we will watch the institutional video of the Universidad Politécnica Estatal del Carchi, our host and proud academic home for this international congress.
Bienvenidos a la Universidad Politécnica Estatal del Carchi, cuna de la innovación y el uso social del conocimiento. En la UPEC, impulsamos la investigación, la enseñanza y la promoción integral de servicios de calidad, guiados por la sostenibilidad, el emprendimiento y la internacionalización. Sumérgete en un entorno académico, innovador, con instalaciones y laboratorios de clase mundial, con profesores apasionados por lo que hacen. Con 14 carreras de grado, podrás avanzar hacia el futuro que quieres, junto a una universidad que es la segunda más sostenible del Ecuador. En un mundo en constante cambio, en la Politécnica del Carchi no solo te dejarás guiar por el conocimiento. Aquí, tus talentos, tu creatividad y tus ansias de descubrir te harán destacar. Inspírate en nuestras fincas experimentales, en los clubes culturales, deportivos y científicos. Tu experiencia será inigualable. Nuestros graduados son la prueba de que los sueños se hacen realidad.
Educamos para transformar el mundo.
Unity is the strength of our nation. Anonymous. We kindly ask everyone to stand and join in the national anthem of the Republic of Ecuador. Leadership in education begins with the will to inspire. John C. Maxwell. To officially welcome us to this meaningful event, we invite Dr. Gladys Urgiles, PhD, Academic Vice Rector of the Universidad Politécnica Estatal del Carchi, to deliver her welcome address. Please applause.
Muy buenos días con todos. Señor Dr. Jorge Mina Ortega, rector de nuestra querida Universidad Politécnica Estatal del Carchi. PhD Magdalena Ullauri, presidenta de la red TESOL Ecuador. Magíster Marta Vivero, responsable del Centro de Idiomas Extranjeros y Lenguas Nativas de la UPEC. Querida compañera representante del comité científico de este evento. Es un verdadero honor para mí darles la más cordial bienvenida a esta Convención TESOL Ecuador 2025, explorando herramientas de inteligencia artificial, estrategias de enseñanza y prácticas éticas para el futuro del aprendizaje del idioma inglés, que hoy nos invita a embarcarnos en una travesía hacia el futuro de la educación lingüística, explorando el impacto de la inteligencia artificial, las metodologías emergentes y los principios éticos que deben guiar nuestra práctica docente y que hoy tiene lugar en esta Casa del Conocimiento, que es la UPEC. Nos reúne un propósito común: reflexionar, compartir y construir juntos el futuro de la enseñanza del inglés en un tiempo de grandes transformaciones educativas y tecnológicas. Los temas que hoy abordaremos nos invitan a mirar hacia adelante con esperanza y compromiso. La inteligencia artificial ya transforma nuestras aulas y metodologías, abriendo nuevas oportunidades para el proceso de la enseñanza y el aprendizaje. Pero también nos reta a mantener viva la creatividad, la ética y la esencia humana que dan sentido a la educación. Los profesores de inglés son los mediadores culturales y formadores del pensamiento crítico y promotores del diálogo global. Explorar herramientas de la inteligencia artificial no implica solamente reemplazar su rol, sino que va a potenciarlo. Encontrar nuevas formas de conectar con los estudiantes y ofrecer esas experiencias de aprendizaje más personalizadas e inclusivas. La UPEC se enorgullece de ser la sede de este tercer encuentro que reúne a docentes, investigadores y líderes educativos de distintas regiones del Ecuador y del mundo, entre ellos representantes de Estados Unidos, México, Colombia, Vietnam, El Salvador, Puerto Rico, en un espacio que refleja nuestro compromiso compartido con la innovación pedagógica y la calidad educativa. Durante estos días participaremos en conferencias, talleres y mesas de diálogo, donde se compartirán esas experiencias inspiradoras, resultados de la investigación y las buenas prácticas docentes. Pero sobre todo, viviremos una experiencia de comunidad, donde el intercambio de ideas y la colaboración serán nuestra mayor riqueza. Que esta convención sea un punto de partida para fortalecer nuestras redes profesionales, renovar nuestras estrategias de enseñanza y reafirmar nuestro compromiso ético con la educación del futuro. Sean todos bienvenidos a este evento en la Universidad Politécnica Estatal del Carchi, donde educamos para transformar el mundo. Bienvenidos todos.
Thank you, Dr. Gladys Urgiles. The heart of teaching is not the classroom, it's the connection we create. Rita Pearson. Let's now welcome Dr. Magdalena Olauri, PhD, President of the Ecuador TESOL Network, with her opening remarks to officially begin this international academic gathering. Please applause.
I will begin my presentation by sharing with you a valued goal achieved 2 months ago. After a joint effort and after 8 months of hard work, the members of the Executive Board of Directors of RED finally got what expected. Dreams came true. The affiliate agreement was made the 11th day of August 2025 by and between TESOL International Association, a non-profit corporation organized under the laws of the state of Virginia in the United States of America, and RED Ecuador TESOL, Riobamba, Ecuador. It is important for us, you to know this good news at the beginning of this convention. English teachers must be proud of belonging to RED now. Authorities of Universidad Politécnica Estatal del Carchi, members of the Scientific Committee of RED, national and international speakers, dear teachers and students who are attending this event, good morning. The Executive Board of TESOL Ecuador Network is delighted that we are attending the 3rd TESOL Convention and Language Expo, exploring AI tools, teaching strategies, and ethical practices for the future of English language learning, whose main goal is to train English teachers with new language teaching methodologies that allow us to come together to forge an inclusive and more innovative future in terms of integral development of competences in English language. During these 2 days of conferences, we will take part in multiple activities which have been prepared for all of you. These activities deal with topics that cover the teaching and learning of English integrated AI in the EFL class. Every conference is a new chapter in our shared journey of learning, teaching, and inspiring through English. In this scientific, technological, and academic event, we will have 17 international speakers and 25 national speakers, all of them with an excellent background and recognized experience. We will have 22 in-person presentations and 8 online presentations. Experts from Colombia, USA, Mexico, El Salvador, Paraguay, Puerto Rico, Vietnam, and of course, Ecuador will be present. They will be in charge of delighting us with topics such as practical AI and tech integration for EFL. Will AI replace the English teacher? Empowering teachers, well-being through AI. AI chatbots as conversational partners. Generative AI as a pedagogical strategy. The ABC for applying AI in English language teaching. Rethinking teaching strategies for the AI era. Our agenda reflects the hard work of the Executive Board of RED Ecuador TESOL and Universidad Politécnica Estatal del Carchi. But not only in the scientific field, the art and culture that represent the Ecuadorian people and their rich heritage will also be present in the cultural event tonight. Everyone is invited to enjoy it and learn from our background, our roots, and our culture. I want to give a special shout out to all the elementary school, high school, and higher education English teachers, because you are the reason of this event. Your professionalism and your passion for learning inspire everyone. You are the protagonists of this construction that leads to a better future inside education. Your participation is essential for this Congress to be meaningful. Special thanks to the international speakers who have crossed thousands of kilometers to arrive here, and to the national speakers who have traveled from the north to the south and from the west to the east of our beautiful country, Ecuador, for being here too. We could not do this without the active participation of partners in Ecuador and around the world, especially authorities and directors of Universidad Politécnica Estatal del Carchi. Dr. PhD Jorge Iván Mina Ortega, Rector. Dr. PhD Gladys Urgilés, Vice Rector. Magister Marta Viveros, Director of the English Major, and Magister Joana Morillo, Director of Publications Department. I invite you to take the advantage of the agenda that has been prepared thanks to the hard work of the members of the Executive Board of Red Ecuador TESOL. John Chamba from Universidad Técnica de Machala. Marjorie Perlaza from Pontificia Universidad Católica del Ecuador, sede Esmeraldas. Washington Mancero from Escuela Superior Politécnica de Chimborazo. Diego López from Universidad Indoamérica. And Magdalena Uliauri from Universidad Nacional de Chimborazo. I want to acknowledge and thank the work done by Magister Sofía Rivadeneira, President, Magister Alex Fernandez, Magister María José Armendariz, and Magister Viviana Torres, members of the Scientific Committee of RED. Finally, I would like to thank all the teachers of English around the country who are members of RED, which has shown a real commitment to improving the learning of English over several years. I hope that you not only find the experience professionally rewarding, but also enjoy yourself and make new friends in the world of TESOL Ecuador Network. Even though these 2 days will be extraordinary, they will not mark the end of our commitment, because as soon as this event successfully closes, the executive staff of Red Ecuador TESOL will begin to work on the planning of the webinars that will be held each 8 weeks in the next year, 2026, and also on the planning, organization, and execution of our 4th TESOL Congress. To each and every one of you, I wish you a successful and productive participation in this Congress. We expect it to be a real academic party. From the Universidad Nacional de Chimborazo, Riobamba, Ecuador, we have a present to our to the authorities of this university, to Dr. PhD Jorge Mina. He's a present from Universidad Nacional de Chimborazo. To PhD Gladys Urgilés, Vice Rector of Universidad Politécnica Estatal del Carchi. To Magister Marta Viveros, Director of the English Major. to Magister Joana Morillo, Director of the Publications Department. Thank you very much to all of you. With thanks and warm regards. Very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for your words, Dr. Magdalena Olauri. Learning another language is not only learning different words for the same things, but learning another way to think about things. Flora Lewis. We now invite Master Sofia Rivadeneira, President of the Scientific Committee Red Ecuador TESOL, to share his reflection on the importance of English language knowledge. Applause, Master Sofia Rivadeneira.
The importance of English and global opportunities. This is what I'm going to be referring to you. Everyone, it's a real pleasure to be here today, sharing this moment with teachers and students who are passionate about English language. English is more than just a subject we learn in schools. It is a key that opens the doors to the world, as you know. In today's globalized society, communication happens across borders, cultures, and continents, and English has become the common bridge that connects us all. Knowing English gives us access to international information, technology, research, and most importantly, opportunities. From tourism and business to society and education, employers around the world look for passionate and professionals who can communicate confidently in English. It is not only a language, but a professional skills that make us competitive in the global job market. Participating in international congresses like this one allow us to grow even more. These events are spaces where ideas travel faster than airplanes, where cultures meet, knowledge expands, and future globalizations are born. Being part of an international congress is not only an academic experience, it's a personal transformation. It helps us develop confidence, leadership, and the ability to represent our institutions and our country with a pride as we are Ecuadorians. So let's keep learning, practicing, and sharing English. Every word that you will communicate in this Congress will make an effect. So every word we learn brings us closer to new horizons, new people, and new dreams. Thank you very much for coming from all different parts of Ecuador, and thank you to people who just arrived from Esmeraldas. Be very welcome.
Thank you, Master Sofia Rivadeneira. Great beginnings are made by vision, unity, and purpose. Helen Keller. To officially inaugurate the TESOL Ecuador 2025 Third Convention and Language Expo, we invite Dr. Jorge Iván Mina Ortega, Rector of the Universidad Politécnica Estatal del Carchi, to declare the Congress officially open.
Buenos días con todos los presentes. Permítame hacerlo en español porque mi inglés no es tan fluido como este evento lo requiere. Sin embargo, es un punto de partida para proyectarnos nosotros como Politécnica del Carchi. Estimada doctora Magdalena Olauri, presidenta de la red TESOL Ecuador, Martita Viveros, directora del Centro de Idiomas de la Universidad, estimada Sofia Rivadeneira, delegada y presidenta del Comité Científico de este Congreso, compañera vicerrectora Gladys, estudiantes y asistentes a este evento. Para nosotros es un honor y un placer el día de hoy ser partícipes de este evento de carácter internacional que sin lugar a dudas alberga a todos aquellos profesionales que luchan en el día a día por darnos una herramienta más, una herramienta académica, una herramienta que nos puede incluir en el espacio internacional a nuestros estudiantes, a nuestros docentes y a la comunidad en general. Cuando a la Politécnica del Carchi se le presentó la oportunidad de poder ser sede de este magno evento, no dudamos, por dos razones fundamentales. La primera, porque en el plan de trabajo de estos próximos 5 años de nuestra Politécnica del Carchi están previstos 3 ejes fundamentales, que son la investigación, la innovación y la internacionalización. Y obviamente no puede haber internacionalización, no puede haber innovación, no puede haber investigación si toda la comunidad universitaria no domina una lengua extranjera, y en este caso el inglés, la cual es básico y fundamental a nivel nacional, a nivel internacional. Y otro elemento también interesante, el próximo año, para la propuesta académica del mes de agosto, la Universidad Politécnica Estatal del Carchi también abre la carrera de Pedagogía de los Lenguajes Nacionales y Extranjeros. Entonces, y esperamos que este sea el preludio, que este sea el buen augurio de arrancar con fortaleza, de arrancar con un paso firme en la consecución de los objetivos institucionales. Un agradecimiento a los delegados, a los representantes de las más de 15 universidades o instituciones de educación que se encuentran aquí presentes, a nuestros chicos, como siempre, que nos apoyan y que vamos a enfrentar estos retos. Tal vez se nos vuelva un poco complicado el día de hoy empezar con estas actividades, pero es la manera de proyectarnos, es la manera de entender que el cambio está en nosotros. Una mención especial también a la delegación numerosa de Esmeraldas, de la Universidad Católica de Esmeraldas. Muchísimas gracias por venir a este frío hermoso de Tulcán también. Muchísimas gracias por venir, nos sentimos muy halagados de que estén aquí. Y en definitiva, siéntanse como en casa, para nosotros es un honor. Y desde ya, estimada Magdalena, estimada doctora Magdalena, por favor nos digan dónde es de impregnar nuestra firma, nuestro compromiso, para desde el día de hoy, por favor, hacer la solicitud que nos acepten en la red. Así que en este sentido, nuevamente agradecerles, bienvenidos, y queda oficialmente inaugurado el evento. Y un compromiso: tengan por seguro que si hay la oportunidad en un año de estar nuevamente en el Congreso, y si hay la oportunidad de hablar, ya no será en español. Muchísimas gracias a todos.
Our identity, our pride, our university. Institutional motto, UPEC. Please stand to honor our institution by singing the anthem of the Universidad Politécnica Estatal del Carchi, UPEC.
Fortaleza libres y grandes, la lección que se escriba con hierro en el rojo huracán de las sangres. En el aula se forja la ciencia y en el surco se aprende el futuro. Si se siembra justicia y sapiencia, libertad es el fruto seguro. Gloria a ti, Politécnica y Carchi, eres nuestro blasón que se clama. En tu entraña el Olimpo se expande, Prometeo nos prende su flama.
In a few minutes, we will have a very special conference. On this occasion, we are honored to have two distinguished specialists from the English Language Institute at the University of Utah, USA, Professor Randall Davis and Professor Ross Wilson, with their lecture titled, Will AI Replace the English Teacher? Rethinking Roles, Relationships, and Responsibility. We warmly welcome everyone and invite you to enjoy this enriching presentation. With gratitude and enthusiasm, we officially begin 2 days of knowledge, innovation, and collaboration. As Benjamin Franklin once said, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Welcome once again to TESOL Ecuador 2025, where teaching meets transformation. Thank you very much. welcome two distinguished specialists from the English Language Institute at the University of Utah, USA, Professor Randall Davis and Professor Ross Wilson, with their lecture title, Will AI Replace the English Teacher? Rethinking Roles, Relationship, and Responsibility. Please welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
I think
Randall,
muted.
All right. I think we're ready. All right. Let me take a look out there.
Can you hear us?
All right. I think we're ready.
Yes.
All right, Russ. Well, let's go ahead. And I hear an echo. Let me go ahead. And I think I need to mute. There we are. Okay. All right, Russ. Are you about ready?
Yes. I want to make sure that I'm not echoing. Do I sound okay?
Yeah, but I see some furry critter kind of in the background there. Something's moving.
Yeah. I'm in the wild today.
All right. Well, I think we're about ready. I think the attendees are ready as well. And so, are we ready to go?
There's just one thing I need to do. I'll be right back.
Okay, sure. Okay. I think Russ probably needs to check on something, but we're really excited to be with you. Thank you. I like that scene of what is going on in there. Everyone wave a little bit. Big wave. All right. Thank you. All right. So again, I think Russ just needed to step away and we'll get started. All right. Russ is always up to something. Wait. Excuse me. Where's Russ?
Hello. I'm Ollie.
No, you're not Russ. You're not Russ.
I'm Russ's assistant.
He didn't say he had an assistant.
He was delayed, and he wanted me to carry on in his place. He's feeling under the weather. He's feeling under the weather today. Maybe. Well, no, I think I should take his place today. I apologize for that. He does that once in a while. I'm sorry. I will be presenting as originally planned, so don't worry. I'm here. In the closet. We switched places.
Some of you might be wondering that's kind of an unusual way to begin, but it is part of our presentation today. We're really excited, and we're going to thread that back into the presentation and how it is something that AI can just not do. First of all, I want to ask, do you have the printed program? Just raise your hand if you do have the printed program. Okay. Thank you. You'll see on page number 2 a QR code that actually will allow you to participate in today's presentation. So keep an eye on that. Russ is going to be watching that, and we'll explain what that means in a few minutes. So let me go ahead and cue things up, and then we're going to get started with our presentation today. All right, here we go. All right. So Russ, if there's an issue as well, you can let us know. But first of all, my name is Randall Davis, and I'm with Russ Wilson. We teach at the University of Utah, and one of the things that was mentioned at the beginning of the presentation is that you've had people come from thousands. To have this opportunity to present with you today. In such a thoughtful community, a community of educators, innovators, and change makers. Now, one of the things that we find is that we really consider the idea of creating some type of AI-generated teleporter that would drop us into your community. But we thought it would be safer to just kind of beam in a little bit. We are just really excited about a thoughtful topic at the conference on AI and trying to balance technology, sound pedagogy, and human connection. And while we're not there in person, we feel that a certain connection to you as well. As part of that idea, one of the things that, and again, I took a couple screenshots to be able to see you. I know I can see you through video as well. But one of the things that we find, and we're going to be covering today, is number one, we're going to be exploring the complex challenges and opportunities that AI can present. And we realize that AI is reshaping the landscape of teaching. And it is clear that our roles, relationships, and responsibilities must shift and evolve. And we're going to be looking at that. But if you look in your program on page number 2, you are going to actually see a QR code. And that QR code will allow you to engage and participate live, because we're going to be reserving the last few minutes of our presentation so that you can share comments. And Russ, just let us know as comments come in. Just let me know if they're coming in as well. With that in mind, we realize that there is a danger in bringing in people like us from the outside. And you might say, Randall, what do you mean by danger? There's a tendency often to invite speakers like ourselves who parachute in full of energy and good intentions, drop into a context that we barely understand, and then giving a rallying pep talk, and then we're airlifted out, right? Leaving you on the ground before the dust even settles with a feeling that, well, they have no idea of my local context. They don't understand anything of what I'm talking about, and that was a waste of time. And we do not want to be those type of presenters. We understand that your work is complex, deeply rooted in local realities, and is often exhausting. We understand that. But the last thing you need from us today is someone to show up with generic advice from the mountaintops, from an airplane level view, not fully understanding your ideas. So what we're going to attempt to do is, if you look in your program right now, on page number 2, you're going to see a QR code. And that QR code will allow you throughout the presentation to share the local realities of AI, how our roles, relationships, and responsibilities must evolve. And Russ is going to be monitoring those comments as they come in. And so please, as you listen to the presentation, we're going to save time at the end for Russ to pull up those comments, make reference to them, so that you at home, not at home, but there in the Congress, can feel a part of what we're trying to share with you today. Again, as you do that, you're going to see a QR code, right? You're going to see something that says cookies policies. That's basically that allows you to submit your ideas. And then you're going to see a little submission where you can submit any comment related to anything that we're talking about, and we hope to hear your ideas throughout the presentation. So first of all, let me begin by an opening statement. And the opening statement is, will AI replace teachers, or will it challenge us to reflect on our roles, relationships, and responsibilities? And any comment, as I said, use your phone, scan the QR code in the program on page, I believe it's page number 2, and then share those comments so we can review some of those near the end of our presentation. Well, the question is, I think at the heart of all of what we do right now in the presentation, is a question that probably many of you wonder. And AI is no longer knocking at the door politely, right? It has barged in, kicked off its shoes, and sat down at a student's desk. Whether you like it or not, AI is here. It's present without your permission, like an unwanted house guest. So the question is, I get to you, is what are you going to do about it? And today Russ and I will explore those ideas, again, of shifting roles, shifting relationships, and how we need to approach that in a different way, and also our responsibilities, something that AI can just not do. As part of this presentation, and Russ and I, just so you know, have given 2 presentations at International TESOL over the last 2 years. We're going to be speaking at International TESOL in Salt Lake City. That's where we are. Happy to welcome you if you plan on joining us next year. But that one is on AI and compliance. But even though we've done presentations on AI, we both agree that true knowledge is knowing that you know nothing. We're constantly understanding this. And we did a little bit of research on this particular topic. And we asked teachers, do they fear what is coming with AI? One teacher said, I'm concerned that many teachers will lose their jobs. Others said something like this: I've been in the field for 30 years, and every time I see a new technology, someone says that teachers are concerned that this new technology will replace them. Teachers have always been needed. It's just a tool that we need to learn to use. And we could argue that teachers will always be needed. The question is, will teachers that are using AI replace those that don't? And so we're going to be examining these topics in a little bit more detail. So again, take a look at the QR code. Feel free to share any comments you have. And right now we're going to talk about 3 things: how AI is shifting, but our roles, our relationships, and our responsibilities also need to shift. And Russ is going to be talking about that first. So Russ, I'll turn the time over to you.
All right. And I would like to point out that we are getting some comments. People are scanning the QR code and we're dropping some comments.
I'll take a look at those as well as you're speaking, Russ.
Yeah. So you already know about many things that AI does. I can see that from the comments. And it's just, if you are an instructor in the world these days, you've encountered AI in some form almost inevitably, and many of you have probably used it in various ways. And you know that it can be a conversational partner in a language you're studying, not just by typing, which it can do, of course, but you can use it as an audio conversational partner that can even correct some of the errors you make. It can do all kinds of things. And the new things that AI can do are emerging all the time. There are different things that it's doing that it couldn't do 2 months ago that it can do now. That's just how it works. So let's move on. One thought that Randall found, and I think this is a very interesting thought, and we can think about it different ways, but if what you teach or how you teach can be fully replaced by AI, perhaps it should be. And I don't think what this quote is saying is that, yeah, teachers should lose their jobs. I don't think that is what it's saying. What it is saying is, if you are not leveraging what makes you uniquely human in your teaching, then maybe you need to change the way you teach so that you can more fully leverage what makes you fully human as you teach. That's kind of how I look at it.
And Russ, if I could just throw in a comment, one of the comments that came in is AI has become the teacher's lifesaver to enhance classroom creativity. And I think that's what we're going to be showing today.
It definitely can have that role, yeah. Let's move on to the next slide. So one thing I think I want to focus on during this part of the presentation when I'm talking about roles is how we can refocus our roles. Because there are some things AI can do very easily, very effectively, but there are things it cannot do, and things that we must do, we can do to show that we are not replaceable as teachers. And one of those is by providing frequent unplugged learning and assessment experiences. And what I mean by that, unplugged meaning using, first of all, not using AI, and second of all, not using technology. I'm not saying that's what we should always do. I use technology a lot. I'm the technology coordinator in our program. I'm not anti-technology, but the idea of being able to detach from that technology and learn in an environment without that technology is very beneficial sometimes. Simple example. I have taken my very low-level students outside after learning some basic vocabulary relating to things that they would see outside, and just say, let's go outside. I'm not going to use our phones or anything. We're just going to go outside and we're going to ask some questions and give some answers using the vocabulary we just studied in the book. We're just going to go do it outside. And we did it a lot.
the last time I taught a level 1 listening speaking course, we did that a lot. Students loved it, and it was completely unplugged. So that's one example. AI can't do that. Another is treasure hunts. Now, sometimes a treasure hunt can be the very old school style treasure hunt where you put clues on pieces of paper, and this could work out in a grammar class where the students need to be able to know the correct grammar to decipher the clues or something like that, and to go to another place and find a piece of paper that gives them the next clue to move to the next point. It can be something like that. It could also be QR codes that you scan that reveal some text that leads you to another point in the treasure hunt, and then you finally come to whatever prize it happens to be, whether that's some candy or a homework assignment. But students have found that very beneficial, and that does not rely on AI, and AI can't really do that. It's can be as simple as an in-class discussion or a debate without AI. Maybe students have used AI before this class to get an idea of some counter arguments to their particular position. But when the actual debate comes, they don't have access to AI, and being able to, for them to realize they need to stand on their own 2 feet without reliance on AI can be very helpful. But one thing I really want to focus on is kinesthetic and experiential learning, which kind of ties into a lot of things I've already talked about, but I want to give you some specific examples of what I have done, what Randall has done, and for you to think about what you have done and what you can do.
And to share that in the presentation, Russ.
Right. Yeah, please share that in the comments because we want to talk about that with you.
And if I may, Russ, one of the comments that came in, and one of the things that we're trying to do is trying to get to have a better understanding of your local context. And so by sharing those comments, we can feel more a part of what you're thinking. One of the comments, Russ, that came in, it says, what should used for in EFL contexts? Also, how do teacher-student roles change in the context of AI? And I think that's what we're going to be talking about. So thank you very much for that comment.
Yeah, I think this will partially address it, and hopefully we can address it a little bit further later. So part of the reason that we brought in the puppet at the beginning of the presentation, I know that was unconventional and hopefully got your attention a little bit, is because we have used puppets quite a bit in the classroom. I have actually done a lot of work as a semi-professional puppeteer outside of teaching, but within teaching, we've used it a lot in the classroom as well. And Randall and I gave a presentation at TESOL 2022 about this. So these pictures come from a scenario where we gave a workshop, so an optional workshop after school, where students could come in and we were going to practice pronunciation with them using puppets. So what we did is we gave them kind of an introduction to thought groups and focus words, and how the focus word in a thought group is the most strongly pronounced word in that thought group. And we gave them little scripts with the focus words marked for stress. And we said, we want you to practice these, but we want you to practice with a puppet. And we gave them a little basic instruction on puppetry technique. An interesting aspect of puppetry technique is that when there's a stressed word, and especially a focus word, the puppeteer naturally moves their hand forward and opens their hand a little bit more on that stressed word, like, hello, how are you? Something like that. And this gives the illusion of life to the puppet. But it also happens to be a very excellent kinesthetic way of teaching word stress and sentence level stress. And so
see if AI could replicate that, right?
Yeah, nothing that AI could do on that to replicate that particular activity. And students usually respond very well to it. Not only does it lower their affective filter when they go behind a stage and it's the puppet performing, not the student. And so the student relaxes. In so many cases, over so many years that we've done this, we've seen that students tend to relax. Their pronunciation becomes more confident, so they often sound much better. And this connection between the hand movement and the mouth movement often helps them to understand more clearly what they need to do. A very kinesthetic experience that AI simply can't replicate. Randall and I have also done a lot of skits that we've done on social media, where we've released approximately 1-minute videos with Randall, as you can see, and Professor Idioms, and I'm behind Professor Idioms, where we introduce an idiom in context, and then we discuss the idiom and explicitly discuss its meaning. And these have been very popular, not only on our social media platforms, but teachers from different parts of the world have contacted us and say, we use these in our classroom. They've been very helpful. They're so engaging because there's a unique kind of interaction between human and puppet that AI so far can't really replicate. Sure, you could have an AI video generator produce something like it, but that human element would be missing.
Hey, Russ, if we could just pause with this idea. We are interested. These are the projects we've done, but please use the QR code to share the types of projects that you are doing that couldn't be replicated with AI. We'd like to hear some of those and bring those into the conversation.
Exactly, because we very much recognize that not all of you are puppeteers, and many of you don't have interest in becoming a puppeteer, and that's fine. But we do know that you have passions, you have interests, you have unique skill sets that you can bring to the table in your classroom, no matter where you are.
All right.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Another thing that we've done, AI cannot replicate. We have a class called 540, which is an intermediate listening speaking class. We have a unique assignment we do as a final project for the students, in which every student in the class receives the same prop that they're required to use, a physical object. In this case, with this picture, it was an egg, and I had an egg for each group in the class, and they had to use it in their final presentation, which is a movie that they create, which is about 5 minutes long. They all have specific vocabulary that we've studied through the session, and they are required to incorporate some of that. A specific character, in this picture, it was a magician. You can't really see, but the woman in the picture there has a wand, a magic wand. She was a magician. And then a genre. So some had fantasy, some had mystery, some had drama, news, different things. But they all had the same prop, same vocabulary, and the same character they had to use. And here's another photo where the prop was a bottle of soda, and they used a Coca-Cola there. And in the final picture here, you can see that the prop was a water bottle. Now, constraint breeds creativity. In other words, when you give students certain guidelines they must follow, but then you give them freedom with everything else, you find an excellent balance where the students' creativity is unlocked. It opens up. If you give them too much freedom and say, you need to make a video and it's 5 minutes long, go, they usually are kind of paralyzed. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to go with it. Too many possibilities. But you give them a few things they need to do, and suddenly their creativity is awakened. And, oh, we're going to make a movie about this egg. Oh, I have an idea. And we have to use this vocabulary. Let's figure out how to do it. And this activity is proven to be so useful, not only because the students are incorporating vocabulary and pronunciation they've studied, but they're working together to create that product. So everything from the brainstorming to the filming to the editing, it's all a collaborative project. They're using authentic language to do it, something AI cannot replicate once again.
And I think that's an important point, Russ, because you're talking about projects. And again, feel free to use the QR code to share the type of projects you're doing, because this is where that role is shifted. Some of the things that teachers are doing today, but you're emphasizing that point.
Right. And I just saw a comment come up. It said, I have recently applied a project as a teacher assistant at university called the Live Museum of Cultures and Festivals. And even just from the title, I can tell that's something that AI could not replicate. And it's going to tie in with students' individual cultural concepts and ideas in a very interesting way. So I love that. That's a great comment. Okay, let's move.
Yeah, a lot of comments coming in. One person said, teachers are facilitators, and that's what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. Right. Facilitating experiences.
Yeah. And it would be interesting, Russ, sorry to interject, but also what we're looking for, is there anything about the local context in Ecuador, in Peru, in that area that we should be aware of that could be relevant to the use of AI in our shifting roles? But I really appreciate there's other comments coming in. We'll talk about more about some of those a little bit later. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. Okay, one more that I want to talk about, and you may look at this photo and say, wow, this is just as weird as the puppet that you showed at the beginning. But what's going on? So let me explain. In addition to being a semi-professional puppeteer, I have professional training in using operant conditioning, which is a method of training. It can be used for humans, it can be used for animals, and so on. And I taught a class several times in which students learned the principles of operant conditioning and then applied those principles to train choice-based learning in fish. They used a fish as a subject of training, and they used these concepts to use the vocabulary. The final project, which was a group project, so they're working together in a group, one. They're working with an actual live fish too. They needed to film all the steps of training. So throughout several weeks during which they were training these fish, they would take daily video clips of here's attempt 1, here's attempt 2, and here's attempt 3. And then they would compile videos from all of these weeks of taking video, and then they would narrate and say, in this particular trial, this is what's happening, using the vocabulary they studied and so on. And by the end, each student in the group had narrated several minutes of video, and they had to demonstrate that they understood the concepts and that they were able to successfully apply them to train a fish. In this example, and Fernando, you can hit the animation on that. We had the fish swim through a hoop. This is just a video example, but we had students train fish to do that. And this is something that, once again, AI could never do this. Now, am I saying you should all have your students train fish? No, but I'm saying this is something that is an interest, a passion, and an expertise that I have. And I want you to think of what you can do with your passion, your expertise, to find an experiential learning situation that the students can benefit from that AI could not replicate. All right.
Yeah, and one of the comments that came in, and maybe you can see that as well, someone has said, in education field, do you agree that AI could replace the human knowledge, but could never replace actual human way of teaching and acquiring knowledge? And I don't know how you would acquire that knowledge, that experiential, kinesthetic, hands-on, that AI just couldn't do.
Right. It's just a field where that doesn't happen.
Right.
All right. So let's move on. So to kind of summarize, and I've already asked you the question, what kind of kinesthetic and experiential lessons have you used? And hopefully I see already people are commenting about that. So that's great. Thank you for doing that. Please continue. Just 3 tips to kind of summarize what I'm trying to give you here. So 1, unplug from technology when needed. Doesn't mean always, but it does mean that there are times when you should just not use technology in certain cases. Next, leverage your students and your own skill sets, interests, and resources, whatever they may be, because there's a way to make that work for you and your students. When you share something you're passionate about, it's contagious, and you can find ways to do that will help spark interest in your students. And finally, remember that constraint breeds creativity. In other words, when you give a certain amount of guidelines, it's often better than not giving any. That freedom to be creative is great, but freedom with a certain amount of guidelines is often more productive than just no guidelines at all. All right.
Right. A few other comments that have come in, we'll probably talk a little bit more. The one comment that I want to bring up now is leading in. One person said, no, the human factor is important when we work in the education area. And that's what we're going to lead into. Take a look at the comments. If you see anything else, Rex, feel free to interject. But right now, what I'd like to talk about is relationships. I mean, AI can produce flawless grammar explanations. It can produce instant feedback. But the one thing that it can't do is it can't be human. It can't actually do one of the most important parts of what education is all about. And so what I'd like to talk about is an area of our relationships where AI just cannot take the place of, and that deals with vulnerability, authenticity, and compassionate empathy. With that in mind, long time ago, I realized that I would never be able to do this. I mean, Russ, I'm not very tall. You know that. I'm at my best height, the best time of the day, I'm 160 centimeters, so I don't jump very high. And so I could practice and practice and practice, but I will never be able to dunk the basketball. And I've accepted that limitation. It's not a flaw. It's not an imperfection. It's just who I am. And I think one of the things that we need to learn how to do is being vulnerable to our limitations among those who need our trust the most, and that's our students. And so with that in mind, what I'd like to talk about is the type of vulnerability that we need. And vulnerability leads to authenticity. Now, I don't know, Russ, if this ever happened to you, and probably please share in the comments if this has, but years ago, students asked me, when I started teaching, Russ, I entered the classroom 1987, and in one of the first classes, a student asked me, what is the difference between lay and lie? And I said, oh no. And what I did is I said, oh, no, that's not covered in this level. That's in level 29, because I had no idea how to explain the difference. But as language teachers and as students, many of us live in a fear of looking weak, imperfect, flawed. And I know many teachers will say, I just tell my students, but how many of us can be truly authentic and vulnerable to acknowledge that sometimes we hide behind a mask of inauthenticity? And I think many of us find it difficult to open ourselves up, because we're often taught and trained to hide our emotions, our frustrations, our flaws, and so forth. However, authenticity allows us to show up just as real people. And students pick up on this authenticity. I mean, being human, as I saw a couple of comments, is what AI cannot do. And I think human connection is everything in education. AI just can't do that. And so, as I mentioned, we hide behind a mask of inauthenticity, and sometimes we must realize that vulnerability, and this is a quote coming from one of my favorite researchers. Her name is Brene Brown, and she said that vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. And with that in mind, what I'd like to do is, imagine, Russ, I don't know if you've ever used this feature, but within Zoom, you have the ability to touch up your appearance. And as I was preparing today, how many of us take a look at that and want to kind of hide behind a mask by even adjusting what we look like? So I mentioned about vulnerability, acknowledging our imperfections or our limitations. Then I mentioned about authenticity. The third point I want to talk about is compassionate empathy. And empathy is really the superpower of language teachers. And I think that many of us see our students struggle. We see them struggle with learning a language, with feeling like they fit into our classrooms. And AI certainly can track progress, can generate lessons plans. But what AI can't do is it can't sense the shaky voice in a student who is struggling, or a torn relationship that maybe a colleague is going through. And we have to remember, when I talk about cognitive empathy, that is understanding that we need to put ourselves in the shoes of others. But compassionate empathy comes at a whole another level. Compassionate empathy actually leads us to action. And because we need to realize that AI cannot feel, AI cannot grieve, AI cannot hold space for human complexity. And again, as I mentioned, AI has limitations in this particular area. What I'd like to do is I'd like to share a very moving experience of my life. Back at MEX TESOL in 2016, I was asked to be a keynote speaker, and I could speak on anything I wanted. And what I decided to speak on is about being wrong, and how being wrong can lead to greater empathy and better teaching. Because human connection is really at the heart of everything we do at all. I mean, completely. And I think I spent the first 30 years of my teaching focusing on hard skills of phonology and morphology and syntax, to the exclusion of the soft skills of compassion, of listening, of collaboration. And the challenge is that often we're so unaware of how unaware we are. And so at this particular presentation, I decided for the first time, and again, there were probably about 400 to 500 people in the audience, to speak about a delicate topic that was dear to my heart. First of all, as I mentioned about soft skills, how many of you in your classrooms have seen students struggle, or on their phone, or sleeping, and we use simplistic explanations to explain why? Maybe they were playing video games too long, or maybe they were, stayed out too late. And sometimes those simplistic explanations really put, you could say, a focus on areas that we need to retrain our minds. And what I mean by that is that we need to look deeper into what is impacting our students' performance without coming up, as I already mentioned, about simplistic reasons. In this presentation, I talked about how unaware, as I already mentioned, and I shared an experience of where our son died by suicide. That's a very delicate topic. And I felt as I went through that experience, so often people are so unaware of how we struggle, how as humanity, we sometimes rush into judgment about why people are struggling the way we are. And as I shared that, I said, by understanding, I thought initially that understanding the struggle of mental health issues could help me, guide me in some way to help others. I realized one time where I had a student, he and his wife were expecting a baby. They left for 2 weeks and they came back. And when he came back, I saw him walking down the hallway and I said, "How's the baby doing?" And he said, "The baby died." And in a brief moment, I almost said, "I know how you feel." But the reality is none of us understand how someone else feels as they're grieving. AI cannot grieve, cannot feel. And at the end of this presentation, as I was wrapping up, as people were leaving the ballroom, a number of teachers lined up and said to me with tears in their eyes, "I struggle too." But there's no way I can acknowledge that to others for the feeling of and the perception of being weak and imperfect. Hugs were exchanged. And it's that type of human connection, which is the heart of education, that AI cannot replace. And going back to Russ, that you were talking about those projects, whether it's puppetry or whether it's those cognitive experiments. And I think you would agree that that type of emotion when students struggle to be able to move the puppet, or maybe they're doing that fish experiment and one of the fish gets sick. I mean, how does that impact students? And it deeply does in so many ways.
Right.
With that in mind, I want to share a last couple of thoughts. This one comes from Thich Nhat Hanh. He is a Vietnamese Buddhist monk. He passed away a couple of years ago. And this goes to the heart of this relationship, which AI cannot replace. And he said, deep listening is the kind of listening that can help relieve the suffering of another person. You can call it compassionate listening. You listen with only one purpose, to help him or her empty his heart so they can suffer less. And I'm sure that one of the things Russ and I don't think we can replicate is that we cannot be there with you in person. And I'm sure if we had the opportunity after the plenary to sit with you, to talk with your experiences, that's one of the things that we cannot achieve by this type of remote experience. But again, feel free to share some of the feelings that you had. Someone has mentioned feelings can be changed depending on people's attitudes. And I think that's, as a teacher, what we need to do. In the research that we were doing, again, asking teachers their perceptions of AI and its role, one person said, "I think that regardless of the increasing use of AI in education and in AI and education, teachers will be needed for connecting at an emotional level." Someone else said, AI will never compare to the human connection that we generate with our students, and AI lacks the power of connections and emotion. And so for us, we think that is really at the heart. And I think there's a threaded connection. I think you would agree, Russ, between our roles and our responsibilities, and as I just mentioned about our human connection, that AI just cannot replace.
Agreed. And one thing I would like to bring up, and I see people making comments relating to this, that I've seen students, and I'm sure many of you have as well, seen students who are not terribly motivated until they see that you care. And once they see that you genuinely care about their progress and about them as another human being, their motivation increases. And I think that's something, once again, AI won't touch. It can't touch.
Absolutely. And a couple of comments you were just mentioning. One says warm affection gives people confidence. I would agree that. Someone else said, I agree, AI cannot replace emotions. Once I was teaching and one of my students asked me the translation of the word I didn't know. So I was honest and said, I don't know. Students understood that a teacher doesn't know everything, and we are learning together that journey. And I think confidence increases and it breeds greater trust, vulnerability. And we really appreciate these comments that are coming in because they're so key to everything we're talking about.
And back to the idea of responsibility and how that connects. One thing that teachers need to do when you're interacting with students in AI is teach these students digital literacy, including literacy about AI and how it works. They need to understand that AI is biased. It's inherently biased. Humans are inherently biased too, and we can try to minimize that, but we need to be the ones, we need to be proactive about minimizing the impact of bias in AI. We'll talk a little bit more about some specific examples in a minute. And part of that is demonstrating prompt engineering. AI is only as good as the prompts that you give it. And if you are aware of the best practices for giving AI prompts, then you can use it as a finely honed tool when needed. If you are not aware of those prompts, and especially if your students are not aware of how to create a prompt for AI, then it's not a very effective tool in many cases. So I think that's part of our responsibility, is to make sure we know how to engineer prompts and our students do as well. And
I think this, I'm sorry, Russ.
Go ahead.
One of the comments that came in earlier, we probably could address this in part today, not fully. How do you manage homework copied 100% from ChatGPT, for example, and turned in as students' own work? Either now or maybe at the end, we can kind of talk a little bit more about that, because that is important as well.
It is. And part of that's actually connected to transparency and ethics, because students acknowledging the use of AI where needed is just as important as teachers acknowledging AI where needed. And perhaps you've seen in our slides, we have acknowledgements of this image was created with the use of AI and things like that. Very important to do that. Part of it is modeling. Part of it is showing students that I'm doing it because it is ethically required and it helps you understand what's going on. But if they see you doing that consistently, many students will be more likely to do that as well. Now, that doesn't mean it will eliminate cheating, but if students know where the boundaries are, many students will respond by trying to be more transparent.
I think that's the idea of having guardrails, and they understand the limitations, and we model them.
And we've seen that experience when you tell students, yes, you can use AI, but this is how you should use it, and this is how you shouldn't. Many students will say, okay, I can deal with that. That works for me. Whereas if you don't, you just say, hey, you can't use AI at all, we know that's not going to happen. Or if you just say, hey, just use AI however you want, we also know that's not ideal.
Absolutely.
And doesn't help to develop the skills that the student needs. I think part of the equation there is if the students have unplugged assessments where they do not have access to technology, and they are aware that they're going to have unplugged assessments with no access to technology, then they are more aware that using AI to turn in assignments is not really going to help me, because I'm actually going to be assessed on things that don't allow me to use it.
Hey, Russ, could I just throw in a couple of comments? Is that all right?
Sure.
One person says, there's a huge digital literacy gap in Ecuador, especially in public institutions. The hours to cover EFL curriculum is barely there. So how do we promote and teach digital literacy?
When there's barely enough time to teach EFL.
Yeah, I think someone else mentioned the same thing. I think that's key.
Yeah, this is an important point. And that's great. This is exactly what we were hoping for, is to get an idea of the context that you're working.
And maybe we can come back to that, Russ, in a few minutes. I think that's really key. Someone said, is prompt engineering a new skill that English teachers should learn? And I think yeah, obviously. So why don't we continue with the presentation, Russ? Sorry to interrupt, just to give us some ideas, because we're going to come back to these questions. We greatly appreciate these, and especially when they're talking about the context of Ecuador, not only in the cities, but in rural areas, in the Amazon, and with indigenous groups. Certainly, we're going to come back to that in a few minutes.
All right. So one area in which AI is not reliable is the area of hallucinations. And many of you may be aware of what that means in this context, but basically is that AI makes stuff up. It lies about a lot of things. This was an
Really?
this was an experiment that Randall did when he said, I need you to give me some peer-reviewed articles on a specific topic, which in this case was police body-worn cameras. And AI generated some. And this was one that it generated. You can look at it and say, oh, this looks perfectly valid and real, but it needs to be verified. In this case, it was real. It was a real citation from a real source. But many times it will not produce a true citation. It'll just produce one that looks very real, because AI should not be relied on for facts that can't be verified by some other method. So Randall pressed this with the AI after it generated this. He asked, are these real? Do you ever hallucinate, create fictitious ones? And it admitted, yes, I do. And then it said, if you want, I can find some real ones. Do you want me to do that? And if Randall had said, yes, please go ahead and do that. This is the thing. You would expect AI, once you caught it in the act of doing something, of hallucinating, that it would say, okay, I'm only going to give you real ones. The problem is you could ask it to do that 100 times, and many of those would still be false. They would still be hallucinations. It's incapable of recognizing that it truly recognized that it made a mistake. It will just keep making that same mistake. You have to verify outside of AI to make sure that the facts are true. AI is not a source of fact.
Yeah.
AI can help in many ways, but not.
Right, and you have to press it. In other words, it'll give you very authoritative looking, but as someone also mentioned already, is prompt engineering a new skill? And as you mentioned, Russ, absolutely. And here's an example where you can press it to reveal itself.
Right.
All right.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
Oh, and Russ, you and I we were experimenting. Sometimes these hallucinations are very obvious. Like I said, I told AI to create a picture of an English teacher holding a grammar book with a hamburger on next to Machu Picchu in a kimono, and it does that. And it's really easy to see that hallucination, but not always.
Right.
All right. The next part we'd like to do is, and again, we're winding down here, but we want to cover some of the comments as well, is equity in access. And this is really key, I think, in Ecuador and many countries, is that while AI has the potential of personalizing learning and enhancing instruction, its benefits are not equally distributed. In other words, not everyone has access to these same benefits. I mean, students, and again, if I look at an example of these paid models, we, in our research, we're looking at which models teachers are using. And as you look, most teachers are using paid models. At the other end, there are, free models.
Right?
Thank you. Free models. And the other end, they're using paid models. And the challenge is that when teachers come up with assignments that are designed in a certain way that would require a student to rely on a paid model, then sometimes it puts some students at a disadvantage. In other words, for example, if you're creating an assignment where students can create PowerPoints, for a free model, PowerPoint, it might look like this. Oh, and let me point this out. This is the difference between free version of ChatGPT and the paid version, is not only is there better access with the paid version, but image generation is much more enhanced. You can upload files and it can analyze them. So as an example here, the top one is I asked AI to create a PowerPoint. I was working on a presentation, the paid model. It creates all of the images embedded. It takes all of the work out of creating it. Free model, that's what you get. And so as we talk about the difference between paid and free models, the idea going back of equity is that when you have situations where students only have access to free models and not paid models, or some students can't afford them, then what happens, it's rather than being inclusive, it becomes an exclusive model. And so institutions and teachers must prioritize what they're doing so that everyone has access to the same tools. And so Russ, why don't we go ahead and wrap up and with this part, and then we have probably about 8 or 9 minutes where we can talk about some of the comments that have come in.
Okay. Well, as we've been trying to strike a balance here, because there are benefits and there are costs to AI. You've probably heard people talk about the considerable environmental costs that generative AI has, and that's valid. And we also want to make sure that students are still developing cognitive skills that they might not if they rely too much on AI. There are things like that. But we want to emphasize that AI is not ending teaching, but it is changing it. Whether we want it to or not, it's going to change the face of teaching. So in order to not be replaced, we need to be informed. If we are good at prompt engineering, if we are good at deciding how we can leverage experiential kinesthetic learning opportunities, and we know what the best practices are for using AI and making it a tool, a finely honed tool, then we are informed, we are empowered. We are no longer worried that it's jeopardizing our livelihood and not replacing teaching.
Perfect. And you mentioned about that quote.
Oh, yes. So we are the real intelligence. AI is artificial. We are an authentic intelligence. We're the whole package. We have the elements of empathy. We have creativity. AI basically copies the creativity of others. We are actually capable of innovation in a way it is not. So that is why we should not rely entirely upon it or worry that it's going to replace us.
Great. What we're going to do, Russ, let's go now to some of the comments. Just so you know, everyone, I'm going to be showing you the QR code to the PowerPoint in a minute so that you can download that. I mean, Russ, you've been in many presentations where people share slides or they're holding up their phones to take pictures. And we want to make sure that you have the PowerPoint today for your reference. So right now I'm going to unshare, Russ. And if you could pull up some of the comments that have come in, and maybe we can spend, maybe 6 or 7 minutes talking about some of those ideas. Feel free to continue sharing some comments if you have, but let's talk about some of these, Russ.
So do you see my comments on the screen now?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay. So this last one that we talked about a little bit about the huge digital literacy gap and how there's not a lot of time. So how do we make time to teach digital literacy? There are a couple of ways that I would suggest, and please feel free to chime in, Randall, as well.
Sure.
But one thing is that I would not recommend teaching digital literacy in a vacuum. I would pair it with a task that is allowing them to learn English. So, for example, you could have them do some research on idioms, English idioms, and as they're doing so, you say, here are some guidelines when you're searching for them that incorporate elements of digital literacy. So they're not losing out on time studying English. They're doing both together. That's a very simple example, but I think that's the key. Don't teach it in a vacuum. Make sure that it is incorporating the use and learning of English as they do it. Do you have any other further comments on that?
Well, that's a perfect example. I think sometimes rather than seeing it divorced from what we're trying to do, for example, in my class, if students are learning the word matriculate or whatever word it might be, sometimes students learn vocabulary in a vacuum. And so using AI to say, with prompt engineering, please create 10 sample sentences using the word enroll. And in the simple present, simple past, and past perfect tense, embedding that in what you're actually doing. And again, if students create those sentences, the ideas they can see context becomes really key.
I like that example, the very specific example you gave. And in giving them an example of how to do that, by modeling it, you're teaching some digital literacy, and you're also teaching prompt engineering. So you're doing
and if it's part of an assignment, I tell them, please, and I give them a prompt. Right. These sentences, if that's part of the process, these sentences were generated using AI. I take full responsibility for the output or something like that.
And then you're also teaching transparency and ethics.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a look at some others.
Okay. So I wanted to talk about this one too, is prompt engineering a new skill. So we've mentioned that, yes, that teachers should learn that, but how do they learn it? One method that helped me learn is our university required us to take 2 courses, online courses on AI. And they curated a list of courses from which we could choose. And I chose a couple of those courses, and both of them contained within them a lot of information on how to develop effective prompt engineering. Now, that may be an option open to some of you, and for others, it may not be. These online courses are available, they're out there, but some of them are behind a paywall. But
well, let me, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
What I was going to say is that's one way. And again, that goes back to whether people have access. I think we really enjoyed those courses. But another thing is to go to ChatGPT and do this. ChatGPT, please give me some basic lessons on prompt engineering for an ESL teacher in Ecuador working at the college level. And it will do that.
Right. And that was going to be my next suggestion, is that there are free ways to do it. And that is one. You can actually, no, I think it's fine that you brought it up, because that is exactly what I was thinking as well.
Yeah, go ahead. There was a comment that came up at the very top, but we can look at several of them.
Okay. Yeah, we can look at this one on the top. And this is important right here. I mean, this whole comment is important, but this pre-service English teacher uses AI and has been recognized as very creative, partly because of that. So it's a unity between AI and the teacher's knowledge, that led to success. And I like what they say. I tell my partners to ask AI for materials or activities, but never forget to repurpose them. And I'm assuming here, but I think that the idea here is that when AI produces materials or activities, that means the teacher always has to look at them, evaluate them, and correct when necessary, and decide how they are best used.
You know, Russ, what would be the best thing is for us to get on an airplane today and fly to Tucson and give it a presentation on prompt engineering.
Absolutely.
All right, let's take a look at some of the others. We have a couple more minutes.
Okay, well, it's going to be impossible to look at all of them, but I like this. Teachers shouldn't assume, I think that's what is meant here, shouldn't assume that students know how to use AI for learning purposes just because we know they use it.
Yeah.
Most of them had not been instructed how to use it properly. And I think that ties in very much to digital literacy, to teaching students prompt engineering, proper ethics, and transparency with technology. And many times, teaching transparency is not that difficult. As long as the students are able to understand the concept that if you use AI, your teacher should very much understand how you used it, which one you used, and if the teacher is able to understand that, you're being transparent. Yeah.
Again, those boundaries, those guardrails.
Right. Let's see. There was we looked at that one, and this is one that I would like to tie into the experience that you had, Randall, when you were talking to AI as a conversational partner. So AI cannot replace teachers, even though the AI can help students and teachers in different tasks. I like to see AI as a machine. AI can understand what a feeling is, but it cannot feel anything. Human beings instead can feel what our human students are going through and support them better. Could you give the example of when you were talking to AI and you talked about your brother?
Oh yeah, I was practicing with AI, practicing my Spanish, and it says, tell me about your family. And I said, bueno, tengo dos hermanos y uno se murió hace un año. And it said, I'm happy to hear that. And I said, what? What do you mean? And then it corrected. And I said, did you really mean that? Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. And so it self-corrected after being prompted. But right. Yeah, that takes out that human element.
Exactly. And I think that's a perfect example of what this comment says, that AI can understand what a feeling is, but it cannot feel anything. And so it was unable to recognize that it made a very big mistake that I think very few humans would make.
Right. So we're coming down to the end here. Russ, why don't we go ahead and unshare, and I can show that QR code so people can grab that. Let me make sure I'm showing all of that. Whoops. Let me sure. Can you, whoops. There we are. Can you see that QR code now?
I can see it. Yeah. Okay. It's in display mode, but.
Okay. Let me go back here. And there we are. Can you see it now?
It's starting to show up, I think. It says you started screen sharing.
Okay.
One thing that I wanted to bring up too, as people take a chance to scan this and get the handout, we would love it. We're going to leave these comments open for a while. And if you would like to give us some feedback on our presentation in general, let us know something you learned or something you would have liked to have heard more about, anything that would help us understand what you gained from this presentation, what you hope to get, anything like that. We would very much appreciate it. It's going to stay open for a while, and the QR code is in your program. So we're going to leave it open indefinitely. So if you don't remember to leave a comment until later this afternoon or tomorrow evening, that's fine. We would love to hear what your thoughts are. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, thank you.
Professor Randall Davis and Professor Ross Wilson. And thank you for participating in this event. That is 100% free, but there are some costs to cover, so I invite you to participate on the giveaway for the gifts that you see on the table. Dr. Alex Fernandez will proceed with the giveaway.
Take the microphone. Okay. Good morning, everyone. We are not feeling okay, I guess. Good morning, everyone. Okay, before to start with the things that I have to share with you, let's make a brain break. Because I see that you are a little tired. I know, maybe you were traveling. It's okay. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. Have you ever heard? I am pretty sure that you have heard about the brain breaks. Yes, when you are giving classes to your students and the students are tired maybe, or they are disappointed, or they feel upset. Okay, a brain break. Or here in Ecuador we call them active stops. Las pausas activas. I am pretty sure that you have heard. Okay? Pay attention because everybody gonna work with me. I don't know if you have heard about this one. The name of this break is lemon, lemony, lemon, lime, and lemony. Okay? So follow me. You are going to follow. You are gonna be in your chairs. Okay? If I say lemon, we must, as you are, we must sit down. Okay? But if I say lime, stand up, everyone. Stand up, please. Oh, you are sleeping. Teachers must be so active for every English class, okay? And then if I say lemony, we have to turn around, okay? That's it. So let's see if you're paying attention. Let's structure it in again. Lemon is sit down. Lime is a stand up. I know that you're tired. And then lemony, we turn around. Right. Okay. Let's do it fast. I want to see. Lemon. Lime. Oh. Lemony. Okay. Lemony. Lime. You're not paying attention. I say lime. Okay. Let's do it again. Lemon. Okay, have a seat comfortably, that's okay. Lemony, very good. And where you are on lemon, so you have to go back to your seats. Okay, let's do it again. Stand up, everyone. Okay, now that you're standing up, line please, everyone line. Let's do the next one, okay? When we are trying to engage people, it's so important that we share that energy with them, okay? Especially when you are teaching teenagers, it's more difficult because it's a little bit hard trying to engage them with you, okay? And there is one very interesting song that all the time I love sharing it, Okay, I have learned it 10 years ago. Imagine, I traveled to Argentina, where Graciela Berska, who is an author of books for Oxford University Press, and she shared with us one very interesting activity, which is it's an energizer, and it's named the Mango Sun. Have you ever heard the Mango Sun? No. Okay, today we are going to share that with you. And the name of the sun is the Mango Sun, and it's a repeat after me sun. It means that I am going to do something and you have to repeat what I do. You got it? Okay, let's start. I got a mango. Teachers, you are sleeping. Let's do it again. I got a mango. Then that you have the mango in your hand, well, we can do it. Well, we have to do it. No, but it's dirty. We have to wash it. Okay, so first activity, repeat after me. I got a mango. I wash the mango. And my body goes relax, relax, relax. And my body goes relax, relax, relax. Okay. It's strange for people from Esmeraldas to that? I don't think so. If you are a teacher, you must be a singer, you must be an actor, you must be a psychiatrist, you are going to be a chef. You must be what your Atkins are waiting for. What your students are waiting for them, this is what you have to be. I cannot sing. I sing badly, but I am doing it for you. Okay, let's do again with another activity. Repeat after me. I got a mango. I wash the mango. I peel the mango. And my body goes relax, relax, relax. And my body goes relax, relax, relax. Now, pay attention on the next. I got a mango. I wash the mango. I peel the mango. I chop up the mango. And what? And my body goes relax, relax, relax. And my body goes relax, relax, relax. Now, what we do it? Now we eat it. Okay, let's do it with me the last time. 1, 2, 3. I got a mango. I wash the mango. I peel the mango. I chop up the mango. I eat the mango. And my body goes relax, relax, relax. And my body goes relax, relax, relax. Thank you very much, teachers. That's for you. It was an amazing section. Remember, okay, tomorrow with me we will be sharing more activities like this. But remember, teachers, positive attitude. If you want your students to engage your class, if you want your students to love you, active yourself. Okay, this is something that I have to share with you after 9 books that I have written. And those are the things that we have for you today. From TESOL Ecuador, we have organized a giveaway, okay, where you can get some of the books that we have here for you, okay? We have some interesting books about, I am pretty sure that you have heard about planning. But anybody has heard about nanoaprendizaje? This is the book about. You will learn what is nanoaprendizaje, what is nano planning. It's pretty new for Ecuador because those concepts are coming from Mexico. This is where I have studied my PhD, and this is where I learned it. And I learned it, and I wrote a book about that. So you can get a book about this. And the next book is about neuroeducation and neurosciences. Have you ever heard about that? It's about the things that we have done right now. How people can learn better if you engage feelings and emotions, not just something scientific. Okay, so those books are here for you, and how you can be part of this raffle, how you can be part of this giveaway. On Facebook, you can follow us like Red TESOL Ecuador. Okay, this is where you can find us. Okay, Red TESOL Ecuador. On that, on your social networking, we are going to work with Facebook. You have to post photos of this event. One photo, one reel, whatever is coming to your mind. Okay, you have to upload the photo. Okay, and you have to tag us. Remember the name of us, Red TESOL Ecuador. Okay, and you have to include the following hashtags. You can include Red TESOL Ecuador. You can include TESOL Ecuador 2025. You can include third TESOL Convention, you can include EBL Community Ecuador, and you can include TESOL professionals, okay? So, how you are gonna win? How you are gonna win one of the books that we have here? The person who has got the most number of likes on your Facebook account, okay? So you post the photo, so you say here learning, wherever you are, you have to tag us with our official fan page, which is Red TESOL Ecuador, and then you have to put any of the hashtags that I mentioned. Red TESOL Ecuador, TESOL Ecuador 2025, Third TESOL Convention, EBL Community Ecuador, or TESOL Professionals, okay? And as simple as that, the person who has the highest number of likes will get those books. Second, as you know, you didn't pay for the things that we have done for you, and this is an honor for us, but we need to get some contributions of you. So that's why we have organized a raffle where you can get some things like books, some souvenirs for you. So the price of the ticket is just $1. So I don't know who is gonna sell that, but it will be visited. Yeah, okay, we'll be visiting you in order you can take it. That's it. So, teachers, we hope that you enjoyed these 2 days of learning and promoting ourselves. And please be part of this giveaway and try to get the tickets. Thank you so much.
Good morning to everyone. Okay, I have here an application that will get 3 random numbers. So I'll do it right now. And the winners are number 29, 165, and 146. Congratulations to the winners. Somebody has these numbers. Probably can raise their hand. Okay, we have a winner. Okay, I'll repeat the numbers. Can you please check the ticket in case you have the number? Number 29, number 165, and number 146. The first winner is 29. Okay. Congratulations to the winner. Okay, the second number is 165. 165? Nobody. Okay, okay. And 146. No, okay, I'm going to get 2 more numbers. Okay. And the winners are 187. 187. Okay, applause, please, applause. And now, our final winner is 114. 114? Anybody has the number 114? No. No, 14. 14. 14. No? Okay, one more time. And the winner is 82. 82? Somebody has the number 82? Nobody. Okay. 65. 65? Okay. 107. Yeah. Okay, it's repeated. Sorry. 50. Number 50. Anybody has the number 50? Do we have a third winner? Professor, there's one more winner left, right? And we have one more winner left. Okay, let's do this one more time. 203. Number 203. Somebody has the number 203. Please raise their hand. No. Damn it. Okay, one more time. Number 41. Nobody. Okay. So we keep the prize for the next raffle. Or what? Okay.
We invite you to join Red TESOL Ecuador through the QR code that is on the screen. Can you see it? And we're going to have a break after the break, we invite you to go to the next conferences in the building 5, second floor. We will have Karen Alcibar from Manabi, Ecuador, with her conference, Cooperative Collaborative Learning Enhances Students' Ability to Improve Their Oral Communication in an English Classroom in the Room 1, AI Ethical Reflection Scale, ARERS, in the use of AI tools in Ecuadorian higher education, by Alexandra Herrera from Quito, Ecuador, in the Room 2. In the Room 3, Ofelia Mendoza from Mexico, with 2 empowering teachers well-being through AI from overwhelmed to support. In the Room 4, Gabriela Caiza from Ambato, Ecuador, with her conference, Enhancing the English Speaking Skills through ECRIF, a preliminary study. And in the Room 5, Valentina Canesi from the Instituto Superior de Lenguas of the Universidad Nacional de Asunción, Paraguay, with her conference, Empowering Language Learners, Cultivating Critical Thinking Through Inquiry-Based Instruction. So on the back, you can find a coffee station. Please serve yourselves, and then there is a group of students waiting for you behind this building to guide you to the other conferences that are going to continue on Building 5, second floor. Thank you.